Well, hello and welcome to another episode on the A-League Couch Critics. I'm Brad and I'm joined by my co-host Samuel for another episode. How you going, mate?
Yeah, very good, very good. How you going?
I'm doing pretty well, and I'm looking forward to the grand final this weekend, which is really exciting. I'm also pretty tight. Just had a baby, so that's been a whole new change going on. It makes me kind of forget about this. There is this world called football out there, but
Yeah.
exciting stuff happening in there. But let's talk about some A-League. First of all, since we've done our last video where it's been the two of us, we've got like 400 new subscribers from our two latest videos. So we just want to say thank you to subscribing to the channel. If you've done it so recently, we're thankful for your support, and those video essays are actually something new that we want to keep doing more in the future. But you know what we've always been doing since we started this channel 3-4 years ago is us just sitting here having a chat about football, and we're going to be doing that today, kind of previewing the A-League grand final ahead. But before we do that, we're just going to go through the ladder, focusing on each team and where they finish, talk about that, and then we'll talk about the grand final. Before we get into it, please like the video. It really helps. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. We're super thankful for all the new subs, but we'd love to get some more, and let us know how you're going in the comments. Yeah, let's get straight into it. And it's another season almost done, which is sad because then we're going to have to go into another 12-month off season. But let's start with bottom place, the Wooden Spooners, Perth Glory. I think it's their second spoon in 2-3 years. So life hasn't been good to Perth Glory. Samuel, what did you make of the Perth Glory this year? Were you surprised at how low they finished? I know there was a lot of things going on off the field for them with the sale of the club, which ultimately came through. But yeah, what did you make of them?
Yeah, well, I guess one thing we're going to do is have a look back to our pre-season predictions as well. And so I wasn't too surprised. I had them coming 11th, and I think most people knew it was going to be a difficult season from them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, obviously without an owner still, they kind of went into the season a bit lost. Having Alan Stajic there looked like a great appointment, but it was a tough gig. You know, had lots of players who didn't really want to. It's tough to say they didn't want to be there, but I mean that was the vibe I got a lot of the season. Just a difficult club. Yeah, so I'm not surprised they ended up where they were. That they had a really tough season. There was not much to be joyful about for them. Finishing bottom, you know, says quite a lot. You know, just 5 wins in a 27 round season. That's pretty dire. So,
69 goals conceded as well, which is
highest in the league.
But yeah, that's a lot of goals to be conceding.
Yeah,
what's so funny?
That's oh, Brad. Yeah, just not much to enjoy about them. And I think even like things like, you know, got Stefan Kolikovsky there, but I don't really remember seeing him play much this season. You know, even Wanderers got a win over in Perth. Like that never happens for the Wanderers. So, yeah, like just no good season. I think the one positive you can take out of their season is the club was sold. They've got new owners, Ross Paligra and Mark Bresciano, and I think you've also got another ex-Socceroo in there as well as part of that group. So that's good to see. They got sold on the cheap because essentially they said, you know, we want to take over the club. So they have big plans. Next season looks more exciting. You know, they've had some time to figure out what's going on at the club, and hopefully they're planning for moving that club forward. And maybe all the struggles around the A-League at the moment actually helps a team like Perth Glory out, where everyone else is kind of lowered on their finances. That kind of helps level the playing field for Perth. So I don't know if they've got too many massive losses from their squad. The rumor is Brendan O'Neill's heading over there next season. He's kind of been there before, and he's an okay player. So, yeah. What about you, Bradley? What did you make of them this season? Much else to say?
I think you covered it pretty well. I think they were quite disappointing. because I like Adam Taggart, Golden Boot winner, for a
Oh yeah,
place team.
that's
So
that's a huge positive
yeah,
for them.
like I think on paper they're probably a bit better than that. But when you have this uncertainties over the club about the sale, about what's going to happen next year, and it's great it's gone through now, but I think that really irks into you. And I think as any kind of employer, whatever business you work in, when there's an uncertainty around your business and your future, it's very hard to give it your all. And I don't think it's any different in football. And so the future does look a lot promising, a lot better for Perth Glory heading into the next season. I think it's Alan Stadgick, Alan Stadgick's the coach, and I think he's a good coach. I think we've seen what he's done with the Matildas in the past. I think he's more than capable of getting this team into the top 6. Now he's got the security of an owner, and hopefully he can get the backing next year. I think Perth can definitely improve, but it wasn't a great season for them.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess we'll move on. Where did you have them? Where was your prediction for them as well?
I had them to come 9th.
Yeah, okay. A bit more optimistic than I was about them, but
where do you have them?
I had them at 11th.
Oh, okay, so pretty close.
I was still optimistic, but they've ended up at the bottom. The next team we move on to then is Wellington United, 11th place for them. I'd say that's quite disappointing for them.
I think so too.
I was very misguided, but I had predicted them to come 3rd this season. I thought after winning the league and then having a bad year, they'd bounce back and they'd be all guns blazing this season. They signed Daniel Pena, like that was a fantastic signing. There was all this promise about them moving into a home ground this season, and that did happen, but a lot later than expected. We'll touch on that, I guess, but just a really disappointing kind of season for them. That it just never seemed to click. Somehow John Aloisi kept his job the whole time. I guess he'd earned some goodwill winning the grand final a couple of seasons ago, but gee, that's a big sense of loyalty to a coach who's led you through 2 back-to-back really rough seasons now. Just things never clicked. Signing someone like Nikita Rukavitsa, he never really took off.
Barely played.
Yeah, it was just an interesting kind of thing. I don't know what you would say their bright spark on the field was. Maybe Nathan Grimaldi made some good appearances for them. So he's a good young player, good prospect. It's good to see that kind of stuff happening in the league a lot more with clubs. So, but yeah, again, 7 wins for them, 5 draws, 36 goals for is the lowest in the league. Like they just could not score. And you don't win matches if you don't score goals. So yeah, that's really rough for them.
Yeah, I had them finishing 4th. I can't really tell you why I thought they were going to finish that high. But yeah, I don't know if there's much. I don't really know heading into next season. I mean, next season is 6 months away, so we'll have a better idea later on about where they're going to go. But I think moving into their training base at Tarneit was pretty exciting. Then it'll be a good vibe. I think that'll be a really good ground. Who cares if it holds 4,000 or 5,000? They're still going to build that stadium. That'll hold, like you said, 15,000, might be smaller. But, there's a good base there to develop something really special there. But moving forward, I don't know if John Aloisi is the man to take this club forward. I know he won a title, but I think a lot of people on soccer Twitter have always been quite critical of John Aloisi as a coach. He still won a title. I think they're pretty keen on him to stay on as the manager when they moved into Tarneit, and now they've done that. But I don't know. I think the pressure will be really on him if he's not performing after 6-7 weeks at the start of the next season. But not a lot to like about Wellington United this year. Like I said, Grimaldi's been good. Noah Bodic has been good as well, and Daniel Pena, he's been great. But hopefully, I think they re-signed him, so hopefully he'll be staying in the A-League. But anyway, Who we got up next? Newcastle Jets. I think that was the team we both picked to finish last for probably obvious reasons, because the uncertainty about no owner for so many years now. And, I think there were stages later on in the season where we really doubted whether they would be playing or whether they would exist for the next season. And I think the rumours are pretty much done that they will get a new owner and they will be competing next year, which is really good to have the Newcastle Jets in the comp. And I think everyone expected them to be really poor. And to their credit, I think they showed a lot of heart for a team that really didn't have much going for it. And I think their main man up front, Apostolos Stamatopoulos, I think he had a really good season, and I think it was a season that I don't think no one ever expected that. And he showed a lot of promise. If he's going to go overseas, hopefully Newcastle can get a bit of coin for him. But I think we didn't expect much from Newcastle, so if they showed us any kind of something, I think that was going to be a win for him. And fair play. I think they had a not bad season considering the circumstances of everything. They still finished 10th, which isn't great, but shed a lot of heart.
Yeah, to not take out the spoon with everything, the cloud that they were under, really it was between them and Perth, and so they've done really well there. And talk about Stamatopoulos, 17 goals, that's incredible. That you've got Taggart, who wins the Golden Boot for Perth, who came last, and Stamatopoulos with 17 for the team that came 10th, but really they relied on him a lot. Another bright spot for them was Clayton Taylor. He just great young player, really had some fantastic matches, particularly against Sydney FC when they travelled up there. Newcastle got a win that day. And Costa Grozos as well, ex-Wanderers player. He also had a standout season for him. That first real opportunity to have a start 11 chance, and so I think that was really good. Obviously their backline left a bit to be desired, but as well. So Ryan Scott in goals, he was under a lot of pressure all season, just every game being hammered, but he did really well. Got a call up to the A-League All-Stars out of it. I think he's had a great season in goals for a team that's conceding lots of chances, but he did pretty well. So there was definitely some really good things. Robbie Stanton, first season as a coach as well, in the A-League as a head coach. Obviously been assistant at Sydney for a while. So he showed some good things, but you're hoping the club does finalise this sale, the future's secure, and you can see them make some movements. Again, if they stay with some of these young players and give them another full season of football, they could be in a way better position at the end of next season. Make some transfers, get some money out of these players. So it can only get better for the Jets, you'd hope.
Yeah. Well, then ninth was Brisbane Roar. It was I reckon it's a funny old season for Brisbane Roar. They returned back home to Lang Park to play the vast majority of their games after a few years up at Redcliffe, and I think after that they put in a really good performance during the Australia Cup, and I think we expected a bit better from them. I tipped them to come 6th to make the finals.
I tipped them.
Fourth.
Yeah.
Did you? Yeah. Well, okay. There was I thought there was a lot of promise there. I think Thomas Waddingham, they keep developing that kid. I think he could be a real star for Brisbane moving forward. And I think they started okay. I remember they lost. I was there from the UK when they lost 8-0 or something to Melbourne City. Then they went and beat Melbourne City 3 or 4, some ridiculous like that. So I think Brisbane will be very disappointed with their season because I think they probably should have pushed the final spot, and they kind of just faded away with a few games to go. I think the move back to Brisbane was a good decision. I think playing at Lang Park long term is obviously not an ideal location unless they can start drawing back big crowds like they used to do.
Yeah.
And at so many of their games, I thought, oh yeah, I reckon they'll pull a good crowd, and it's pissing rain, and the field's a bloody swamp. So hats off to those Brisbane fans. I think they're the Den. I think they're probably top 4 or top 5 active in the league. Top 4. I think they're a really good active. I think it was really great to see the Den rocking this year, but on the field they weren't really rocking, and I think they'll be disappointed knowing that they probably should have and could have done better.
Yeah, like 4 coaches in a season is
tough.
That
too. Yeah,
and so you look at, could they have pushed up a bit higher? Absolutely. I mean, Ross Aloisi had them singing, and they started the season well. They were looking great, and then
he went to China, assistant coach for Kevin Muscat.
Yeah, that's right. To be an assistant coach for Kevin Muscat, 4 games into a season where you've made the Australia Cup final and started really strongly, and people were rating them. He had that team looking really good and great football. So it was just a really strange decision. Obviously, they had the interim. He didn't last long. Then they get, well, he saw that 8-0 loss to Melbourne City, and that's got him sacked. Ben Khan comes.
Yeah.
He started looking somewhat good.
They talked about him like they wanted him to get the job originally, but I think there's a lot of off-field stuff going on with him health-wise.
Yeah, and that reared its head again. Fortunately for him, he had to step down, and Ruben Zadkovic had come over to be assistant manager, and then he took the interim job, and then eventually was actually appointed when it was announced that Ben Khan wasn't going to be in a state to actually take it back on. And so now they got Ruben Zadkovic. So like 3 times they had to kind of change identity, change how the club ran. Zadkovic, to his credit, I think towards the end of the season.
Let's just have a little pause there. Sorry about that quick break there when a baby needs a boob. Go on.
As I was saying, I think Brisbane Roar, they had to start again. Zadkovic, I don't know what to make of him as a coach. He seemed like he was getting something out of them, but the end of the season, they just couldn't pick up a result. Henry Hall had a good season for them. 7 goals for him is not a bad return, but he's not someone you really expect to be leading the line. No. Thomas Waddingham is fantastic, and I don't see him being in the A-League much longer if he has another season like that. Berenguer wasn't bad for them, but he wasn't amazing, and their backline just wasn't particularly good. So, I mean, Brisbane, they're just in a bit of a meh. I thought they were onto something with Ross Aloisi, and losing him was huge for the club. And I just don't know how I see them getting anywhere better than mid-table, just outside of finals next season. From this point of view,
okay, all right. Well, who's up next? I think is it Adelaide? Yeah, it is Adelaide United. They finished in 8th. I had them finishing in 8th. Well, there you go. I've got that's probably the only tip I'm going to get right here. So
I had them finished in 9th, so not far off.
So you're pretty close as well. Yeah, Adelaide. I think we suspected that they, after some really good years, we kind of expected that they might drop off because they lost a lot of players, particularly Craig Goodwin, and they didn't really recruit too many players. I think they picked up some English fella.
Who barely played Ryan Tunnicliffe. Yeah,
that one. I think who else did they lose? The Toure boys, or was that the year before? I can't remember.
Well, that being said, though, they still had a fairly good front line, like Zach Clough, Ibasuki, who had a really good season, 15 goals for them. Aaron Kunda had his best season in the A-League. He was consistent. He scored 8 goals, 6 assists for him. So that was pretty good. Stefan Mork came in the second half of the season and really added a lot. Defensively was where they just not the best backline. Not that it leaked a heap of goals, but it just wasn't particularly inspiring.
Yeah. And a lot of those players, like Ibasuki's already signed for Western United. Irakunda's gone. There was another fella that's already been. Harry Van der Sarg's gone.
They announced a heap of their backline. Lockie Barr's gone. Nick Ansell's gone. Yeah.
It's going to be a big off-season rebuilding for that club. They're always good at finding some good youth juniors, but they're going to have to really pick up in the off-season. I think that's what the Adelaide fans have been quite critical of, is a lack of signings, and maybe some clubs are restrictive in what they can spend because of the current financial situation of the competition and the investment coming in. But I think Adelaide fans probably weren't looking forward to this season, and I think their worst nightmares probably wasn't their worst nightmare, but I think it wasn't a very good season. And it was a season that actually started really well. They thumped Mariners, didn't they? Like 3-0 at the start of the season. Is that right? I've got the results in front of me. I think they started quite well. Yeah, 3-0 against Central Coast, and then 6-0 against Melbourne City. And then a couple of weeks later, they lost 5-1 to Sydney FC. So I think that opening few weeks of the season was an absolute whirlwind. And I think at times they showed they were quite capable of being competitive, but I just think across 27 rounds, the lack of depth in the squad really showed.
Yeah. But I mean, one of the positives for them, and I think you'll see a bit of a theme from me coming out of this. They tried playing young South Australian products, and have become quite known for that. They've had the Turo brothers go through, Irankunda now, and so this kind of it's a good opportunity for them next season to continue down that path, to get the right young players from South Australia into that squad and to give them game time. I don't think they're going to make any massive signings, so that might have to be what they do anyway. So yeah, it could be another rough season next year. Although you still do have people like Zach Clough, Stephen Walk, they're leaders, and they'll take people. Isaias and Lopez are still going. Is Lopez retiring at the end of this season? Actually, I think he might be, but
not sure.
They've still got leaders in that squad, and Carl Viet, he'll get into them and make a squad out of it. So yeah. Again, early doors. I don't see them making finals next year, but
I guess we'll have to see. But early days, it doesn't look great.
And again, just another positive for them is that crowd down in Adelaide is so consistent and decent. Like it's just, again, it's one of the best arenas for Australian football that we have. The crowd is great down in Adelaide, so keep those vibes, keep connecting with the community, playing those South Australian players so that people have something to get behind. They've got such an identity down there at Adelaide United. They can really use that to help the club kind of sustain through difficult years.
A few weeks of leave in January, so maybe I should take the family to Adelaide for a week and check out a game at Highmarsh Stadium.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Anyway, shall we move on?
Yeah, let's move on to the Wanderers in that last place outside of the finals. Bally, that's surely a disappointment. Like, I had them finishing 5th because they built quite a squad. I think I said earlier, and look, I'm biased, I could see them having a hiccup at some point. It just was quite a hiccup towards the end.
Yeah, you can go. You can have your say, and then I'll have my say. I don't know how different it'll be, but
look, they had some fantastic players. Like Lockie Brook had a really good season. He burst on the team. Nicholas Milanovic for them, 9 goals, 5 assists. Like that's some really good stats for him. He's been outstanding. Marcelo at the back is so solid. And for a lot of that season, they looked defensively really solid. And Rudan in there. And then you had that mid-season referees, red cards. And then the club just fell apart. like it was. We all watched a train wreck happen, and it just derailed the rest of the season. And all of a sudden, from an outsider's point of view, the Wanderers were in their own head. Then you had the police drama at the Sydney Derby, and yeah, it just became a farce out west. And look, I'm not going to lie and say I didn't enjoy it, because it was fantastic to watch. But for you on the inside, what do you make of the season? Like,
I think
how do you
it's
evaluate it?
I think how we started and how we played in that first half of the season, it's extremely disappointing. I think it all probably tipped over in that game against Macarthur. I was at that game. The refereeing was absolutely appalling. I think it's the worst officiated match I've ever seen with my club involved. And I think he was right to criticise the referees. I don't know about this whole conspiracy theory about the stigma. Like, I think when you start going down that road, you start to, you don't want to entertain that thought, because I don't think I think the standard of refereeing in the A-League isn't particularly great, but it's not the case of referees trying to get your club. I just think they're just not good enough. And I think the VAR doesn't help. All these referees grow up learning how to referee, call a match in the moment, and now they have to do the VAR. No sport's meant to be refereed to millimeters, and so that doesn't help. But I think it was probably around that point. I think he probably, we don't know, but I think he lost the dressing room at that point, or in the weeks that come after that. And we didn't have some great decisions go our way, but what can you do? I think Nicholas Milanovic was a really exciting player. We picked him up halfway through last season from Wellington United, and he really shone this year. Really stood up. Lockie Brook, I think he can be a bit of a hit and miss at times, but he looked really exciting. These two players, hopefully we can keep him signed down. But these are two players, I could see moving on to overseas stuff. And I think Lockie Brook's been overseas already.
Yeah, that's right.
And, I think Brendan Borrello was a bit disappointing. I think he was injured for a fair chunk of it as well. But I think he was disappointing at times. I know he's coming back from a broken foot, but still that was disappointing. I know we lost a lot of players off season, but I still think we had a good enough squad to make the six. And I just think how it all ended and what happened to where it led, I think it's pretty disappointing. And now Rudan, in the past couple of days, has resigned. His mother's got brain cancer. He wants to spend a bit of time with him. That's pretty awful news. I think a lot of people don't like Rudan about alleged stuff that happened off the field, and I think that's fine. But brain cancer is pretty terrible. And some fans I've seen out there saying, like, we don't give a shit what's happening to his family, still a piece of filth, and he deserves everything coming his way. You're just as bad as him. Yeah. Saw a Sydney FC fan make a comment like that on Twitter, and he was pretty quick to delete it. So,
definitely. Yeah, look, as a Sydney fan, you play the ball, which is, we hate the club, but you don't play the man. Like, and so I think it's not nice to see that kind of situation happen. And look, it gives the club maybe a chance to refresh over the off season and pick a new direction, which potentially what was needed anyway. The circumstances it's come through, that's difficult. And so for the club, they get to move on, and things are civil, and that's nice, at least for them.
Yeah. And the two men that they're lining up as the rumour, Montgomery or Kuznalbo, and I'd probably be a bigger fan of Monty, but I think both of these options, I think they'd be pretty solid ones. But guess we'll just have to wait and see. But anyway, I had him finishing fourth. What did you have him fifth? Oh, no, I think I had him third. You had him fifth. So,
I think I had them finishing fifth.
Yeah, cool. All right, well, we're into the top six now, and it's Melbourne City, who I think, gosh, talk about a real up and down season from Melbourne City. They've been top team for the past 3 years in terms of position on the ladder during the regular season, and they really fell off. And at times, they're pretty lucky that the Wanderers fell over Brisbane and Adelaide before, because they really didn't deserve to be in the finals. Melbourne City, I think, the highest scoring team, give them credit, 50 goals, but I think half of those goals were probably scored in about 3 games.
Sydney
Second highest.
outscored. Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah,
Sydney
all right, but still 50 goals. Like, I think half of those goals would have come in 3 games. I think they beat us 7-0. They beat Perth 8-0. I think they beat Brisbane 8-0. So, they've really fallen off. Like, they've been the benchmark for the past 3-4 years, and they really fell off. Which is good to see the competition competitive, but from Melbourne City's standards, they probably weren't expecting that. I think the loss of Kisnorbo was probably a bit rough for them. And they sacked who was the coach before Vidmar? No, it's not Vidmar. Who's their coach now?
Well, Aurelio Vidmar's the coach now.
Oh, it is right. Yeah, I've got the name right. Yeah, and he replaced someone else earlier in the season. So, they also had a really disappointing Asian Champions League campaign. I think they were all but to make the knockout, and they conceded a last-minute equaliser against some Chinese team. Just, it gave me the shits, because I want our teams to do well in Asia, and I think all round it's pretty disappointing season from City. Jamie McLaren, say what you love about him. I love a tap-in merchant. He's my favorite kind of player that just poaches goals out of nothing. And he had a really off season, like a really bad season. And I think all around, I just don't think they clicked in previous years. Lost a few players. That Tolgay Arsenal looks like a good player. I think he might stick around. But big off season for Melbourne City coming up.
Yeah. Rado Vidicic was who started as and he'd taken over from Kisnorbo, but he didn't last long. And they were an interesting team to watch at times, because like you said, 3 big wins, which contribute a good quarter of their goals, but just like, I don't know what to make of players like Jackalis and Leo Natel.
Oh, he's trash.
Who had moments of okayness, but like it's a current, it's not a current, it's a ongoing kind of gripe of A-League fans, is you're bringing in an international player who's on probably a lot more money, but they're not actually much better than, or in these cases, any better than the 19-year-old you've got in your club already. And so, like, Leo Natel has played a huge season for 5 assists, 6 goals. Look, they're not the worst stats, but could you have gotten that out of a 20-year-old that you had at the club already? Probably. Jackalish, 7 assists, 2 goals. I reckon most of those assists came in the first 3 or 4 games, and then he just dropped off. Arslan is the kind of the gem there. You go, that's a foreign player worth signing. He was really good. Samuel Cyprian at centre back, again, he's 32, 33, and he just, cool. He was a centre back, but he's not a Marcelo. He's not, he didn't really add anything that they were particularly missing already. And so, I just found that quite interesting. Lecky, was okay, but you kind of expect more out of him. And just the whole club, and for them to make the finals was quite a surprise. And they did push victory. They, I guess you almost say, a little unlucky not to beat the victory in that game, but if not for Paul Izzo just having an absolute blinder. So you're probably disappointed as a City fan. They definitely had a drop off, but they're City owned. Like, they'll have 5 more foreigners next season. They'll sign someone to replace Jamie McLaren. So I don't think you can ever say they're just going to drop off a cliff, because they've got the money to kind of ride that wave. I had them finishing second, and so they definitely weren't there. I think I remember saying Rado's going to go one of 2 ways. They're either going to fly, or he's going to crash and burn, and it really didn't take long. Where did you have them finishing?
Second.
Yeah. So I think yeah, it's kind of nice to see them not up the top though.
Mm. Well, the team who finished 5th, I bet you didn't think they were going to finish there, did you?
Oh, wow, this is subtle.
Oh yeah, yeah. Macarthur, I think it would have been considered a really good season for him to finish 5th after coming last the previous year. I had him coming 10th, so prove me wrong. Yeah. On the field, I thought they actually had a fairly good season. And yeah, they didn't go particularly great in the semi-final against Sydney FC, but like I think their fans could look back and think, yeah, we had a pretty good season. You know, there's a lot to like there about some of our players, like De Vea and Bacchus, how they build in the seasons to come. Well, they've had a pretty trash past week, those guys. So yeah. Listen, I think the Frenchman Germain was a really good signing for them and played really well in the league, played really well in the AFC Cup. I think De Vea, even though he's been charged with all these gambling offences, I think, you know, he was also another star of the season. I did think at times, I was like, geez, I thought De Vea was a really nice guy. He plays like an absolute feral monster. We know why now, but yeah. It's a strange one, Macarthur. I think they flew under the radar because probably they don't have any fans. But I think they'll be happy to finish 5th after coming 12th the previous year.
Yeah, I think just personally, on their kind of identity as a club, you know, a lot of the backlash against them since they've come into the league is, they just don't seem to have much of an identity, a bit like Western United. And I think they made some real steps.
Yeah, I agree.
With that, and you know, the bullpen was starting to grow, and they were getting people involved, and there were some good moments there for them. And the team at times were playing some really good football. So I think you look at 5th and you go, it is a good result. They just got pipped by Sydney on the final day, in the final round for 4th place. So they almost had a home elimination final. So like it's a pass mark for them. I think it's a pretty good season. I think you just go, all the stuff that's just happened in the last couple of weeks with them and the betting scandal puts a real cloud over them. And I think that'll be difficult. Like if these players get convicted and they are not there next season, that's a huge hole for them. It's their entire midfield.
I don't expect to see them at all next year, even if they are proven innocent, because they've all been stood down until a decision has been made by the courts. And something like this is not going to be finalised in the next week or two or the months to come. Like, this could drag on for years. And I think it's like, I agree. I think they've made good inroads in the community to really build the club. Their crowds statistically are the best have ever been. I mean, it's only a bit over 4,000, but, you know, you take a win where you can. And I think this is the potential to ruin all the goodwill that they've done in the past year or so, which is a real shame, because as much as I don't think Macarthur should have joined the comp, I think they're here now, and I think losing any clubs or kicking them out is not going to be any good for the comp. And I think we need to support the clubs we have. And I think I am deeply disappointed by what's alleged to have happened, and I really hope justice can come, that the truth will be out with it all.
Yeah. So I guess moving on from them to Sydney FC. What do you make of Sydney this season? Is it a pass?
I think, you know, with a goal away from taking it to extra time to potentially in the grand final, I think, it's definitely going to be a pass. I think at times they've looked well beaters, and at times they've looked absolute trash. I think sacking Corica was probably the best decision they did. And I think the writing on the wall for him was last season. But the fact that they managed to turn it around and make the finals and get to the round before the grand final probably saved him, and he won the Australia Cup. Sacking Ufitali is a bit more exciting, at least moving forward. I mean, you probably have a better opinion of that. And I think he showed a lot more faith in the youngsters at Sydney FC. Unlike Corica, at least that's from my perspective. You probably have a better opinion on that one. Yeah, listen, I think they're lucky to have not made the grand final. And at times, I think they look real exciting, and at times they look like the best team in the comp, and at the other times they were their worst enemy. I mean, look at that game against Macarthur, and was it the final round of the season when they had 2 men sent off?
Yeah.
Or did Macarthur have 2 men sent off and then they won? Or maybe that was another game with Macarthur. Anyway.
Oh, yeah, that was earlier.
Yeah, they're just, I think, a bit more stability. You want to build around those guys. You haven't lost Gertwood Reich, have you? Is he going?
Not yet, but rumoured to be over $2 million transfer to. Yeah. So, I mean, that's huge. That's what you get from playing young players.
Yeah, but they have lost Fabio. Like, I thought he might have been a good one to keep around.
He was only on.
He was online, was he?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. And Rodwell. Yeah. Robbie Mack's leaving. I was surprised about that one. I thought he was a good player, but yeah, I'd say it's pass. I had them coming first, and I think I really bought into that Australia Cup hype because they looked really good. But it's a knockout comp. You can't read too much into it. And yeah, I think they've got a good coach in Ufitale. He'll show a lot of faith in the juniors, and I think moving forward, I think fans should be quite confident.
Yeah. Like you said, it was the right decision, I think, to get rid of Corica. There was a bit of unrest around him at the end of last season, like you said. The Australia Cup run, I think, surprised a lot of people and then hyped us up, and so the start to the season was terrible. And I guess if you give those 4 games back to us, potentially they're a lot higher up the table, really pushing for those kind of top spots. So, it was a disappointing start, but seeing young players come through, John Courtney-Perkins and Jake Gertwood Reich and Hayden Matthews, who came in kind of halfway through the season when Lacerda and Rodwell were injured, he's been a phenomenal find. He's played out of his skin. Joe Lolly has had he was good last season, but Uffy got him fit and absolutely firing this season. So 7 assists and 11 goals for him. Looks likely to win the some award for playing season, maybe Johnny Warren.
Yeah.
Caceres, good season. Robbie Mack, look, sad to see him go. He loved a derby, but it wasn't his best season. He wasn't as consistent. I think Sydney really lacked a proper striker. Paddy Wood broke his leg and was out for some of the season. Jaden Kaczarski didn't really get the opportunities he probably deserved up there. And Fabio scored, 14 goals, 15 goals, but just never particularly looked like, if you put Bobo from a couple of seasons ago in that same team, he scores 35 this season. Like, I think that was some of the problems with Fabio, and yet Sydney still finished top scorers in the league. Probably helped score 7 against Perth on the final day, but like a bit more exciting football. The high press, David Zrilic, the kind of mastermind behind that. So I think you go, Sydney are in a much healthier position than they were at the end of last season, and that's good. So disappointing not to make the grand final. There was definitely a chance there, but well done Mariners to that. So and so I guess we'll skip over.
Do we want to talk about Melbourne Victory? Yeah, okay.
Let's skip it and we'll talk about them as we go into the grand final, which means we'll talk about Wellington Phoenix, second place.
Where did you have them finishing?
Where did I have the Knicks finishing? I was not on the wall. Maybe there were other photos, but I had them finishing 10th.
I don't think I was on the wall either. I had them finishing 11th. I was close, though, if it wasn't for Newcastle. But I think that's more of me being a ignorant Australian and not really. But to be fair, I think most pundits didn't expect much of them. Maybe Roger ignorant of them.
Yeah, no one expected the season that they had. They were a heavily New Zealand-based team. Obviously, they had Ball, Kryev, and Oscar Zavada, who was injured for a big chunk of the season as well.
Yeah. And those are
So,
all great players.
yeah, Scotty Wooden as well at centre back, but the rest of the team is the Kiwis, some young players in there like Ben Old.
Paulson in goals has been great as well.
Yeah. Paulson in goals he's been outstanding. Like, what a goalkeeper.
Yeah.
And Chiefy in charge, Giancarlo Italiano. He's been fantastic. If not just for the shirts he wears on the sideline, like, man's got style, and he's just a normal bloke. Like, he talks about, I got the weekend off, I might just play some Pez. Like, yeah, I've been watching YouTube about throughout the season. Like, he's just so down to earth, and so it's been really enjoyable. And then to see them cap it off with 30 odd thousand fans, Sky Stadium, like the cake tip, that was incredible. So, an awesome season for them.
Yeah, I think it's awesome season. I think it's disappointing that they missed out on the grand final. Would have been so great. What a story that would have been. Mariners and Wellington in the grand final. These two teams that I would probably expect a bit more from the Mariners, but these two teams that aren't particularly well supported or fancied or don't have the biggest budgets. And I think it was a great story for Wellington to play as well as they did this year. Fell short just in the race for the premiership, and to miss out on the grand final in extra time. I think that's heartbreaking for the Knicks fans. But I think it adds I think it'll give a real boost to the club next season with Auckland coming into the competition as well. I think that's only good thing for New Zealand football. And I think Wellington will be pretty. I think the fans, and rightly so, should be disappointed they missed out on the grand final, but I think they'll reflect on this and think, we had an amazing season.
Yeah.
Oscar Zawada, the rumour is he might be going to Auckland FC.
That's huge. That could be really big.
I think I saw something on Twitter from some Polish football channel, and they were talking about that. And I was like, wow, if these Polish guys know about Auckland FC, then they're probably on the money.
Yeah. And I think that's going to be huge. I don't think it will detract from Wellington next season. I think it will add fuel to the fire in New Zealand football. Whether or not you should have two New Zealand teams in an Australian competition, look, that's by the by. I think it will be good for the competition. So it'll give Wellington someone to actually hate other than Perth. Like, it'll give them a proper rivalry. And so that's going to be good. I'm interested to see how they go. Like, Costa Barbarouses had a great season for them. Can he go again? That'll be really interesting to see. Alex Rufer was also just outstanding for them all season. So they've got some really good foundations at that club to build on for next season. And I don't think anyone's going to be tipping them to come last next season.
We'll see. No, hats off to Wellington. They played really well. It's really exciting. Well, we're about to hit 50 minutes, so maybe we should just jump into the grand final and have a bit of a chat about it. It's first place Central Coast Mariners, who we'll get to, and third place Melbourne Victory, playing up at Gosford, the first ever grand final at Gosford. It's really exciting because Mariners did once earn the right to host a grand final years ago, 15, 16 years ago. And they got moved to Sydney because Gosford obviously only holds 20,000 and Sydney hosts 40,000. So they moved that. And I think it's, as much as the APL have done a lot of bad for the comp, I think they've listened to the fans after what happened with that Sydney grand final debacle, and they made the right decision to give Gosford the grand final. If it's good enough for every other round for Mariners to play there, there's no reason why they can't host a grand final. Won't be a big crowd, but I think that'll just make the match even more in demand. I think it'll just add to the atmosphere of it all, of trying to get to that game. Yeah, I was there when there was 50,000 people wanting to get there. I was one of those 20,000 that could get a ticket. So I think it's going to be an awesome game. Saturday night, you've got the Mariners, this kind of little underdog story. Are they really underdogs anymore? Because they've been playing so well for a couple of years now, up against, I guess, the evil empire, Darth Vader in Melbourne Victory, who have really flown under the radar, particularly with their fans. Because I think a lot of fans have been hating on Tony Popovich and the club and the way they've been playing. Yet here they are in a grand final. Could they do it again? Could they go up to New South Wales, regional New South Wales, and win another grand final? Lord hope not.
Yeah, that's as long as VAR, look, we don't like it, but as long as it's working the whole game, that'll be good. Like, it's incredible what this Mariners team has achieved this season. Like, I had them finishing 8th, and they lost Monty, they lost Benny Ancololo, they lost Jason Cummings. Like,
they lost a lot of players.
Yeah, people did not expect them. And Mark Jackson came in, and they lost the first 4 games of the season along with Sydney, and then they just went on a run. And like that, they've won the premiership, they've won the AFC Cup, the second tier competition in Asia, Asia's Europa League essentially, which, like, credit to them, that actually became quite a difficult task when they had to go to Uzbekistan or Kyrgyzstan or wherever it was, and then had to play the final a couple of days after playing a league match and over in Oman, and then come back to play another game, like, and went and won it. And Alu Kual, with his only good touch of the season, scores the winning goal. Like, just incredible for this small little club that, they play young players. They're really together in everything they do. So that's been really, huge to see. And just on the grand final, only having 20,000 people who can go to it, I think that's fantastic, because anytime you have demand, like, I want to go and I can't go. Like most A-League matches, you just rock up and you can buy a ticket 5 minutes before and get a seat, right? Anytime you can't do that, it's like, I want to be there. It creates that demand, and you can use that to really drive. And so I think it's fantastic to have the final up there. And then you've got Melbourne Victory, who, like I said, that they've not played exciting football particularly, but they've won games. The terraces are back. Fans are behind them. There's just something scary about them, that they have found ways to grind out results, to get draws where they should have lost, or to win kind of where, like, they shouldn't have come away with anything. And that's a scary prospect going into a do or die grand final match, where it's, there's only one winner walks out. There's no draw. Victory are a scary opposition in those kind of games, particularly this season. They've got a good squad. They've got some players who can make the difference. So Fornaroli, he's had a pretty good season. 18 goals for him. Dried up a little bit towards the back end, but, like, he's good. Machash has been really good for them. I don't know if he'll actually be allowed to play in the grand final. Is that right? He copped a red card, or is he back? Maybe he's back. Sorry, maybe I've gone bad info there. Arzani has, actually had a solid.
It's probably his best season since when he was at City before he went overseas.
Yeah, that's right. And Paul Izzo has just been incredible. Like, saved a bunch of penalties recently, and so if it goes to penalties, you'd be. Vukovic is a good goalkeeper too. Like, you've got 2 really good teams. It's going to be a nail biter of the grand final, and I think the 2 clubs that are there probably go. Yeah, look, Mariners absolutely deserve it. Victory have kind of fought their way into it and have knocked off other teams who probably could have been there, and so credit to them. Like, that's what you want for a grand final. It's an absolute story, and I'm really excited for it. I didn't get a ticket. I'm watching.
No, it would have been a good game to go to. So that game kicks off at 7:45 Saturday night. Watching on 10 Bold, I think, or 10 main channel. I don't know. It'll be on one of the 10 channels, and you're watching on Paramount, of course. I've been thinking, I think if Melbourne Victory win it, I think they will be the most underwhelming champion in the A-League era. And I just have the vibe that they're going to do it.
Yeah.
I think it reminds me so much of that Newcastle grand final where there was such a good vibe around Newcastle, and these boys from Melbourne just come to regional New South Wales and just ruin the party. I think they're going to do it again. I think they can, because it'd be so funny, after all the slack and hate that Popovich has been copying, how disappointed the fans have been in the club and their performances in the run home to the finals, and then they win the grand final. It'll just leave the fans so like, how do I feel? What am I meant to feel? Am I meant to be mad? Am I meant to be happy? Am I meant to be mad that we won, which means Popovich is going to stay? Like, I don't know. I think they'll win. I think they're going to, just like up in Newcastle, hopefully without VR, they're just going to get a cheap crap goal and they're going to win 1-0. I think. Just hold out and win it. Yeah. Of course, I love it if the Mariners win. I think that'll just be an awesome story. But I think Melbourne Victory are very happy to play the Evil Empire in the final series.
Yeah, look, I think the Mariners will win it. I think the little team that could, even though actually they're a lot bigger than that, than I think they give themselves credit for. I think they've just got such a energetic, and like they are not going to leave anything on that pitch. And some of those players, Nisbet, Maxi Ballard, they're going to be running till they drop. Jacob Farrell. They might kick the crap out of Victory and like force 2 goals in. I think they'll come out on top. I think there's going to be some difficulty for them. I think Victory will make it tough, but I think the Mariners will literally run over the top and run through Victory to win this grand final and claim. I guess you call it a treble. Is Premiership, Championship, and an AFC Cup a treble? I'd want to see.
Yeah, I think
the Australia Cup should be what makes it treble. I guess you call the finals a cup competition. I don't know, but it's a treble.
They're definitely calling it a treble. I think the treble would probably be Champions, Oz Cup, and Champions League, but the chances of that happening are so small. But still, just to win 3 trophies in one season of Premiership, Championship, and an Asian competition, I think is quite incredible.
Yeah. Well, Bradley, we're near on an hour, and so if you've been listening on YouTube or watching on YouTube or listening on podcast, thanks so much, and please do consider leaving us a like and a comment and subscribe if you haven't. If you made it an hour and you're not subscribed, I think we've definitely earned a subscribe. Bradley, any final words before grand final Sunday or Saturday? Sorry, grand final Saturday, not Sunday.
I'll just quickly say I watched Preston Lions v South Melbourne in the Doherty Cup down in Melbourne. I watched the last 10 minutes. Great vibe, great action. Really looking forward to the national second tier if we can get that. Maybe not every week, but we can get that a fair bit. I think it's going to be awesome. But A-League grand final this weekend. Hope football's the winner. I hate grand finals, hate finals. My team's never in it, so that's why they're boring. Hope the Mariners win, but I think Victory's going to win it.
Yeah, and I think NPL seasons are on, so it's a long A-League off season. I hate it, but there's football on. Australia Cup kind of fixtures are still happening, so
we can
get to a couple of those and keep my eye on transfer news because next season in the A-League could be interesting. We'll be here. We'll cover it. We'll have lots of fun. So thanks so much for watching this long episode of the Couch Critics. A bit different to the video essays if you're new here, but we hope you've enjoyed listening to us dribble for the last hour or so. And we'll catch you in the next one.
Cool. See you.